If you are going to chop down a tree and you only have 5 minutes, what are you going to do? A wise person will literally. I am taking you on a journey of revival in my life and the life of others in hope that your life will be revived in the process. Hey, what is going on, guys? So we are back with another podcast episode, and today we will be talking about how you have to be clear on what you are creating. Now, this can be for anyone. This can be for an inspiring entrepreneur. This can be for an inspiring family guy. This can be for an inspiring or aspiring person who wants to be the best husband that he can be. Without any direction where you're going, it's going to be very hard to create anything. And so today I just want to talk about that and how if you are able to get clear on where you're going. So let's say, for example, you're at, Starbucks and you're trying to get home. If you don't have like a clear path on where you're going, you're going to end up going somewhere else. You're not going to end up getting to your house. And so that's why it's very, very important to dial that in. A lot of people get paid a lot of money to create, your architect design blueprints that they make because they need to make sure everything is up to code. You need to make sure that if you build a house in a specific spot, that it's going to stay up, and that, you may not design it in a way that is structurally not going to be, the best. And so with all that being said, literally you have to be clear on where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going or what you're creating or how you're going to do it, then it's going to create more problems long term. You're going to build something and then it's going to crumble because you weren't clear on what you were creating in the first place. So real quick, we're going to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Have you wanted to make a podcast but didn't know how to get started? That was me until I found Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is ANCHOR.FM to get started now. Have you pondered creating an online business but didn't know how or where to get started? Our mission is to help you discover and live your passion by architecting a profitable business that delivers incredible value to the market and profits to you. What you will do is work with a coach one-on-one to discover what has held you back until now. You're going to set new goals and explore suitable opportunities to design and finance the lifestyle you want. What if I don't have enough time? Well, you don't need a lot of time to get started. You literally can do this part-time or full-time depending on your needs. What if I am not tech savvy? Well, you don't need to be tech savvy. You literally will get step-by-step instructions on how to create the online business that is most suited for you. What if I don't feel like a business person by design? Well, you get access to personal mentorship and a Facebook mastermind group with multiple training calls per week so that you can grow into that business person that you are desiring to be. You can get started by going to therevivalcouple.com. That is TheRevivalcouple.com to get started now. All right, and so we are back, and like I said earlier, today we're talking about how you have to be clear on what you are creating. So just to give you a little bit of background on myself. So I've gone into business. I've wanted to create specific things. I've wanted to build up a business that was going to make $100,000 a year or more. And so I've been on this journey for quite some time. I've been on this journey for a couple of years, and I was never really clear on why or what I was doing. And so what I noticed was that I would try to start something, and since I was not clear on it, I would find myself in a world of hurt because I would make something. One, it wasn't authentic to who I was, and two, it was not exactly what I wanted to do in the first place. And so eventually those things would end up crumbling down, and I would have to pretty much start from scratch because you can't keep doing something that is not going to work. If a blueprint is made for your house and the architect is like, hey, I have this blueprint and this is what you have to follow to make sure the house is structurally sound, then you're not going to take off like different posts and try to build the house. If you do, it's probably going to fall over and it's not going to work. And so with that, like you can't just make the foundation and then, build the rest. You literally, let's say it falls down, your house falls down, it crumbles down, and it's not up anymore. You can't just take the house away and then just build something new there. You have to literally start from the foundation and work your way all the way back up. And so that's why it's so important to know where you're going. People like literally want to go and they want to create something, but they're not specific on like the destination that they're going to. So for example, other people could see that I wasn't going to my destination. So let's say I'm in Oregon, for example, and I'm trying to get to Florida. If I am not clear on going to Florida and I just start driving, let's say I don't have Google Maps. Let's say I don't have, the old school map that some people still use, but most people don't even know how to use it, right? Let's say I don't have anything to get there, but I know I want to go to Florida. And then I start driving. I hit California and I'm like, California is great. I think I'm going to hang out here for a while. And so your end destination is still Florida, but you're in California because you are not clear on where you're going. And until you know where you're going, you can't get there. And so it makes it a lot more challenging and it makes it a lot more difficult because you're getting caught up on different things. Now you're like in California, you're like, oh, well, I could be in California and still do these things, but your end destination is Florida. How are you going to get there if you're in California? So you have to get just very clear on what you are doing and where you are going, because if not, you're going to end up creating something that you never want to build, right? You have something that you are not going to literally have for a long time. And so it's just very, very challenging for some people to create something if they don't have the direction. You can be like, I'm at point A, I want to get to point B. And if you know those things, then you can start building out ways to get to your end result. So usually people, they could see me, they could know that I was trying to go somewhere, but I wasn't able to explain where I was going because I wasn't clear myself, right? And if you know anything about trying to do something, you have to be clear on what you're doing. You have to know, like, am I building a house or am I building a shed? Am I taking a car to Florida or am I taking a plane to Florida? Both are going to get me to Florida, but the vehicle that I use is going to ultimately change how I get there. And so there's just so many things and so many variables that can change if you don't have a clear idea of where you're going. So I wanted to go to Florida from Oregon, but since I wasn't clear, right, I would end up somewhere else. I would end up getting caught in California or Utah or Idaho or Nevada or, I don't know, Texas, right? It's a big state to get caught in. But then I would get stuck somewhere else. And ultimately it would distract me and take away from getting to Florida. And so I realized that I didn't know what I wanted to accomplish or what I wanted to provide for others through the business I was trying to create. Starting off, I knew I wanted a business. I knew I wanted time. I knew I wanted to do more with my life. I knew I wanted to potentially help out other people, but I didn't know how. How could I do this if I'm not even understanding what I'm doing? So now I'm going to try to take people with me to accomplish something that I don't even know that's going to be accomplished, right? How hard is that? So I hit this point in my life where I was just like, I can't keep going and just like shooting from the hip if realistically that is not going to get me to the direction that I'm trying to go. And so I had to get very, very clear on what it was that I wanted to accomplish. It was painful. It was like very frustrating, and it was exhausting because I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to accomplish X goal, which was create $100,000 online or in the online space. But there was nothing saying like, okay, you come up here, you make a right, like Google Maps, right? Or like whatever ways, like whatever you use to drive. Go up here, make a right, proceed for 100 miles. Then you're going to take a left, and then you're going to go straight for some more time. And then you're going to take a right and then take another right, and you'll end up at your destination. That's what I needed. I needed a step-by-step instruction playbook to get me to the place I was trying to get. And without it, I was going to get lost in other places. I was going to get lost in California, Nevada, Texas, wherever, right? I could end up in New York and be like, oh, I thought I was at Florida. And it's like, no, you're not there because you wandered off. You didn't realize that your whole business or thing that you created was based upon getting from point A to point B, which is Oregon to Florida, or Florida to Oregon, or Florida to Washington, right? Complete opposite sides. And so if that's your plan and you draw out a map, you're going to end at Florida every single time. And the results of it will be astronomical. Like you'll have so much more results. You'll be more clear on how to create things. You'll be more focused on what to do and what steps to make because you realize that that is where you're going. And so I realized that if I don't have an outline, then whatever I built will end up crumbling down. Kind of like that house that is built without following the blueprints plans. You're like, let's just take out a pool here. Like that's cool. The architect seems smart. I paid him thousands and tens of thousands of dollars to make this blueprint, but I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want anyways, right? And then you're going to be upset because you're like, well, it didn't turn out how they said it would. Have any of you guys been in the same position that I've been in multiple times where you're going to cook something? We're just going to go back to, cooking food in your kitchen, right? So if you go and you try to follow a recipe and you don't have the things that you need to create the meal that you're trying to create, right? What do? You got to improvise. Now that improvising when you are in the moment and you're trying to think on your toes, like it's good to improvise in that moment. But the results might be that the food you're trying to make or create is ultimately not going to be how it is in the recipe. It could have a completely different flavor. It could like, just because you're substituting it and you're looking for things to substitute doesn't mean it's going to turn out the exact same way. And so in the same sense, you can't substitute what you are doing in your business plan, in your plan as a family, as your goals, being in a family. Whatever you're trying to achieve, you need to be very, very clear on what you have to create. It's not just going to happen magically. And 9 times out of 10, it's not going to actually get accomplished if you're shooting from your hip. If you're just like, okay, yeah, here, I'm going to do this. And then you get to that location, you're like, I'm going to change courses and I'm going to go this way. And it's like, oh, I'm trying to go to Florida, but I'm backtracking to Washington because I have no freaking idea what I need to do and how to get there. It's like, oh, well, you're going to go from Oregon to California and then California to Arizona, then Arizona to, I've done it before. I've drove that trip from Oregon to Florida and Florida to Oregon. And it is, it's a long trip to say the least. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of states you have to go through, a lot of fill ups, a lot of things that you have to do to finally get to that destination. But if you don't know how to get there, it is so challenging. It's like you are literally looking at a picture of a meal you want to make and you are just figuring it out as you go along. They don't tell you what to, oh, you need 2 eggs. You're just like, okay, I think I need eggs in this, so I'm going to crack however much I feel like it. That's not a good plan. You're probably going to mess that meal up, and it's most likely not going to look anything like what you're trying to make. And so that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to improvise. You don't want to just wing it and hope for the best, because every single time it will fail. It will crumble. And so, yeah, I realized it. I realized that if the blueprint is not created good, then the house will not stay up. And in the same sense, my business will not stay up. If I'm not serving the right people, the people that I'm trying to serve are not going to get the information clearly because they're the wrong people. It's not the correct avatar, right? Like the people I'm talking to, it's not the correct approach that I'm using to talk to them. Until I understand what I am doing or where I'm going, it's going to be hard to do anything in between. But so many times we try it. For example, I was reading this book, and in this book, it literally talks about how this course creator who makes multiple 6-7 figures, he's made over $10 million from his courses, his digital courses that he makes. And he said he literally made a course in a weekend. He didn't follow his own blueprint on how he does it. And what that did was it really provided a horrible, crummy course. Why? Because he wasn't able to target into one person or a specific group of people that he wanted to talk to, which is always better than trying to talk to everyone. And so in course creation, or like building something of your own, whether it's a business, whether it's a lifestyle, whether it's your goals in your life, like if you are not clear what you are doing specifically, it's going to be 10 times harder to get there because you have no path. Now, are things going to work out perfectly? No. And when you fail, right, you get up and you learn and you adjust. Okay. But it's better to have at least some type of game plan than to just go for it and hope for the best. Because if you're not talking to the right target audience, then it's not really going to go through. You're going to waste a bunch of time. You're going to waste a bunch of money, and you're going to end up frustrating yourself more by doing it than to take more time at the beginning getting ready for it. If you are going to chop down a tree and you only have 5 minutes, what are you going to do? A wise person will literally sharpen his axe for the first 2.5. He's going to sharpen his tool to be able to chop down that tree. And I look at creating your plan, your course, your direction of where you're going in your business, who you're talking to, how you're going to reach this specific target audience. That is like sharpening your tool. So you have to get very, very good at that at the beginning before you can even start executing on anything else. And so, I understood that. I realized, I was like, man, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know how I'm going to talk to those specific people in the specific way. And so it was frustrating the heck out of me. It was like, Why is this so unnatural? It's like I was not flowing. I was trying to swim upstream, right? I was doing all the things that I was doing the wrong way because I didn't focus any of it from my starting destination to my ending destination. And then filling out little milestones in between in the middle. I did not do that. And therefore, it left me with a lot more frustrations. So I figured out I had to do it. I realized, I was like, man, the only way I can be successful at business, the only way I can help out 100 families within this year is to be able to create something that is super, super clear. If I know I'm going from Oregon to Florida and I know the exact route and the exact highways I'm going to take to get there, then it's going to make the travel a lot easier. I'm not going to have to, constantly be rerouting and remaking up things as I go along and just hope for the best. No, now I know exactly how I'm getting there, and it's going to make the ride a lot more smooth. It's going to feel refreshing because at the end of the day, I'm going to hit my end destination. And when I do, I'm going to be able to, get everything accomplished that I was trying to get accomplished. I'm just going to take a moment for you to think about that. Where are some places you want to go? What are some things you want to accomplish? And what has stopped you from accomplishing those things? Is it possibly that you are not clear on how to accomplish those things? Is it possible that you just dove in to the water and you started figuring out how to swim after you were in the water? Or did you take those swimming classes prior before you jumped into the ocean and tried to, do something extravagant? Before you tried to swim across that lake, did you already know how to swim, or was this your first time swimming? Are you running a marathon or a triathlon without training and doing stuff prior? No, you wouldn't. That would be foolish. And so the one thing that really, really stood out to me is that I had no idea what the heck I was doing or how to get there. And so I realized, that I had to draw it all out. I have point A. I have to get to point B. It's as clear as day, right? But what do I do in between? That was the next issue I ran into. What do I do in between all of this? Like, I know I'm going to Florida. I know I'm in Oregon, but what am I doing in between? How do I get to Florida without knowing the checkpoints? Which for me, would be the states. The real goal that you have to have is to be able to get to your end destination with checkpoints in between, which will help you ultimately hit those milestones along the way. Like each checkpoint is a milestone that you hit. For example, if you're creating a business or a course or whatever, right? I'm going to teach people how to make a full-time living or a full-time income online in 30 days. I don't know, whatever, or in 15 days. Or I'm going to teach people how to public speak on stage and to triple their sales. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to show husbands how to be better fathers, whatever it is, in 2 months. I don't know. Whatever it is, you're going to have little things that you need to hit. So if I could draw this out, it'd be like point A, point B. And in between, you have like little tick marks. Imagine a ruler, okay? If you look at a ruler and you see you got, the big the big tick marks and you got the little ones in between. Okay. I'm just going to, keep it real simple. That is like your destination. Point A is one of the big tick marks. Point B is the other tick mark. The little tick marks are literally your checkpoints in between. Now, in those checkpoints, those are like literally your modules, okay? And inside those modules, you have separate lessons. There's going to be like 6 lessons inside. And each of those lessons are going to help you get from your starting destination to your end destination. And those are very crucial because as you do it, it's going to flow and go so much smoother, right? So much smoother. If I know I'm going to stop in California or Arizona to take a nap before, I go into the next states, right? And then I make it to Texas, and that's going to be my resting point. And then I make it to Florida or Alabama, and then that's going to be my resting point, right? I know when I'm going to stop and take a break. I know where my refueling points are because I know I have 400 miles. I don't know. I can get up to 400 miles in my car, whatever it is, right? And then the same sense, you have this course that you're creating, or you have whatever you're going through that you're creating, a business or goals in your life. And how do you accomplish those goals without a blueprint? It's very difficult. And so I was just caught up. I understood. I was like, man, I need to get to my end destination, but how? How do I get there? Like, what do I do to get there? I'm here, I need to go there, and I have no direction in between. Which, if that's the case, you don't want to be bouncing side to side, zigzagging your whole way to your end destination. You want it to go smooth, all right? And you just kind of want to flow through and get to the place that you're trying to get to. And so that's why you have these checkpoints. These checkpoints are going to be your modules. Inside each module, you're going to have lessons. And each one is going to expound on each other to get you to that end destination. How to create a full-time income online. Module 1. Lesson 1. Module 1, lesson 1. Module 1, lesson 2. Keep going. Module 2, lesson whatever. Like you're going to create an offer. You're going to, be able to figure out in lesson 1 who you're talking to, who your target audience is, and, how to speak to them directly. Right? Then you're going to do market research, and then you're going to do all these things that are going to help you along the way. And then the second thing is going to be like how to get your offer out to the people who want to see it. Okay, now I got my offer out to the people who want to see it, and boom, lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, right? And then the third thing, how to sell your product once it's out to the people you actually are supposed to be talking to. Lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, right? And you just go down, and literally from square one, you don't know anything. But by the end of the course, by the end of that last module and that last lesson within that module, you'll have the full business outline and blueprint, so that there's literally no way you can fall off your location. Back in the day, we used to, print out the maps, and then you would never get lost, because if you lost cell phone connection, you would still be able to get there. Recently, we haven't been doing that. We don't need to do that. We don't need the compass. We don't need, you don't need your protractor. You don't need all your land navigation stuff, which is what we'd call it in the military, to get around. You're able to just use your phone, say whatever you want to it. Hey, get me to this location. And then you get there. But when you actually dial in what you are doing, how you're getting there, and you print it off and you slap it on your table, right? Or you slap it on your wall or your mirror, and you know this is how you're going to get to that end destination. Then you could start off as someone who's never made any money online, and you could end a course making a full-time income and literally be able to repeat that over and over and over again. Make slight adjustments, slight tweaks, like, oh, I realize that, if I cut through Nevada, or if I cut through this place or that place, then I don't have to go through the traffic in California, and that's going to save me X amount of time, right? So you figure things out along the way, but with that blueprint, it's literally going to be your life source to get from point A to point B. And so this has helped multiple people create 6 and 7 figure incomes online that last a long time, right? Most people will go into business, they will make some money, they will create something, but eventually it fails because there is no good direction. They get to whatever their goal is, $10,000, $100,000, right? And they fall off because there was no actual game plan. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to help out married people make more money online, or hey, I'm going to get to this place so that I can move on to the next, right? You should have things that expound upon each other, but if there's no clear direction, then you're not going to get there. For me personally, this has allowed me to know where the next place I am going to be able to accomplish my goals. I know exactly how to get there because I've taken the time to get clear on what it is I want to accomplish. Both in business and my family and personal life, right? It has allowed me to have a blueprint to achieve and create things that are long time lasting things, right? They're not just going to come here today and then leave tomorrow. It's going to come in today and I'm going to build it, and then it's going to last for a lifetime, or it's going to last for a lot longer because I know what it is I'm trying to achieve. And that is why I cannot stress this enough. But anyways, it's allowed me to do so much in my life. It's allowed so many entrepreneurs that are excelling at course creation or digital product creation that have made lots and lots of money. The person that I've learned this from has made multiple 7-figure businesses, about 3 of them online, that are just absolutely crushing it because of having a blueprint and having a clear path on where you're trying to go and what you're trying to accomplish and who you're trying to speak to along the way. So at first I thought I could just create something from the hip and literally it would be great. Maybe it was a great idea at first, but I thought it would just turn out great and that we would be able to excel and create something that was long lasting. But I've seen that if there is no clear direction on where you're going, that it will eventually, it will collapse. It's kind of like that house scenario. It's going to collapse. It doesn't matter what it is, but it will all end the same way, which is broken. It's so sad to know that people are trying to build from the hip. And I was in that same boat. I thought I'd just jump online, I'd make some money, and I'd be good. A lot of people do that. They jump online, they make money, and then they collapse. Why? Because they didn't have a clear vision. They didn't have integrity because they just wanted to get over on people. They didn't realize that, hey, in order for me to make this last longer than a year or two, I need to know who I'm serving or what I'm doing. Now I'm able to go into creating anything literally because I have a clear path and knowing that what I build will stay up and last for a long time because I am very clear on what I want to accomplish. I encourage you guys, go out there, take the time, decide what is it that I want to accomplish and do it. I know you can. I know it's possible, but sometimes we rush into it. Let's not rush into it. Let's take the proper time to, plan out everything up front so that when we do jump on that journey, we're able to flow smoothly and we're able to get to our end destination, and then we're able to do it over and over and over again. Rinse and repeat, baby. I think that's very, very important. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. If you liked it, definitely drop a like down below. If you think someone else will find value from it, share it, because it makes me smile like I am right now. Let's go out there. Let's revive our lives together. Let's get it done. And until the next podcast episode, have a good one.